This video is for someone who is preparing for Java interview at Deloitte. So in this video, I will be specifically covering the 30 plus Java interview questions which are mostly asked on the Deloitte company. And if you are having experience of 1+ year, 2 years or 3 years, and this video is definitely for you. So within a few minutes, I will be discussing the basics Java questions, and at the end I will be going to the few of the difficult questions that is being asked on the Deloitte interview. So let's get started with the video. So before going ahead the video, I request you please go through about our Java Backend Developer interview playlist, where I have covered this Java developer questions and Spring Boot questions for the Infosys company, Hibernate related questions, and JPA related questions, SQL related questions with the basics examples and the use case. So here at Deep Developer YouTube channel, I make videos on Java, Spring Boot, microservices, API development, interview questions. So if you like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. And if you want me to make a video on a specific topic, you can mention that on the comment section. So let's get started with the video. So as we know, they will start with the basics of Java questions. So they will definitely ask like what is Java and why it is platform independent. So this question is being asked to the very fresher candidate who is having below 1 year's experience, or they may ask like 2 years or 3 years plus experience also. So you can explain like Java is an object-oriented programming languages, and it's platform independent because this Java source code we are writing like a test.java class. So this will compile into bytecode, which will be a test.class file. Then which that bytecode will run on the JVM, not directly on the OS. So if we think that as this java.java uh, class we have created, after that it will be compiled to dot class, then this dot class will be run on any of this JVM. So then they will ask like difference between JVM, GRE and JDK. So as we seen in this earlier slide, this JVM is a Java virtual machines which executes the bytecode, and JDK is the provide the Java development tools. Means when if we want to create or run any uh, Java code, so we should have some tools or the environment to write the code. For example, we are writing the code on the IntelliJ, so we need to install this JDK, and then with that JDK will provides that JVM as well as the GRE. GRE means Java runtime environment. So because on that environment we will be running our applications. So this JDK is as I mentioned, it is needed to be installed on the system. And GRE, it is regarding this production server. If you want to run on any production server, then we need this GRE. By default, this JDK contain all this GRE and JVM. Then what is OOPS concept in Java? Or they can frame these questions like explain the different four pillars of Java. So you can explain like we have encapsulations, abstractions, inheritance, and polymorphisms. So it is better to take an example or any sample project that you are working on and explain them how you are using encapsulation, abstractions, inheritance, and polymorphism. So let's go ahead, and I will be frame these questions and I will be giving you some examples so that you can explain to the interviewer very clearly. So what is encapsulation? This encapsulation hides the internal data and exposes the functionality to the users. So for examples, we are calling this deposit method. So this deposit method will not provide any setter method to the client or the who is calling this particular method. So we'll be providing this deposit, and here the amount will be there, and we will make the operations on the amount. So yeah, so then this balance they cannot directly do the modification on the balance instance. So they can ask with difference between abstract class versus interface, and they if you have like more experience, then they can ask like this abstract class is already there for the abstractions, then why we required this interface. So let's answer this properly. So we know this abstract class provide like a base behavior and interface provide the contract. Means any client who is implementing the interface, they are bound to provide the implementation details, and that implementation details will be varies depending upon which classes it is being implemented. For example, we have one payment interface like, and here this method is the pay. So for example, and there is a one class called credit card payment, another class called UPI payment, another class called maybe like even offline payment, that kind of things. So the UPI payment pay process will not be same as a credit card payment pay process, right? So, but overall they will be implementing this payment this pay method from the payment interface. So like that you can explain, and you can they can like come more details on this interface. They can ask like what are the different changes that has been done on the functional interface or the interface in after the Java 8 versions. So you can mention that like in functional. Then what is polymorphism? So as you know, like same method behaves differently for the different objects. So you can, as I was explaining previously, so let it take it in the different way. So for example, we have one class called like RBI. So they have and the different class called the SBI and called the ICICI Bank or HDFC banks. So they have overridden or they have extend this RBI class because they will follow the some rule which is being common for all the bank, and for different bank they can have like set up their interest rate, different interest rate. So it will be override and the default interest rate provided by the RBI. So that kind of you can explain what is method overloading. So and also let me explain it, and they can come up with a little bit quick questions. So the same method name will be there, and the different parameters or the arrangement of the parameter will be different. For example, here uh, int add method is there, which is accepting the two argument of integer type, and the double add method is there. It is accepting the double integer type. So they can ask like if in the second case, if I have int a and int b instead of double a and double b, then will it be a method overloading or not? Then you should say answer is no, because and the written type does not define that it is an overloaded method or not. Then overriding method. So overriding the same name will be there, and the parent class and the one functions will be there, and the subclass will be extending that parent class functions, and they can do their own operations. So if we create this audit service class object, and if we call this log function, then this audit log will be printed. And if we create this service class object, and if we call this log, then this default will be printed. Then they will ask like what is the difference between double equals versus equals method. So before going ahead, like if you are liking the video, I will definitely suggest to watch our videos on the playlist on Spring Boot interview questions and Spring Data JPA questions, because those are if you are a Java developer, then they will definitely ask you on the Spring Boot related questions and JPA related questions. So I will provide the playlist link and just go through those, so you will get more ideas on those. So let's go ahead with the video. So double equals it's compare the references, and dot equals it compares the content. So for examples, how you can differentiate. For example, a string A is created and it has admin as in content. String B also created, it has admin as in content. So if we do A dot equals B, here it compare the content. Admin and admin are same, so it is returning a true. If we do A double equal B, then it will be returning false because A will be referring to some other memory address and B will be referring to the some other memory address. So what is final keyword? And when we require this final keyword or how you are using this final keyword in your project, they can ask depending upon the type of experience you have. So so you can explain like using final keyword we can provide prevent like modifications or overriding during the case of the inheritance. So you can explain like in our projects we are using like a PAN card number, so that will provide as a final. So like that you can other number, that kind of things you can mention that, or the employee ID which is like one times they are generated. So those are the that will be the final keyword we can create them. Then what is the string versus string builder or the string buffer? If you are experienced, then they can ask in a different way. Like in our applications, we have now we are using a lot of strings, variables, and assigning the values. But as the due to this, the like memory uses is being memory is being used like hugely. Then how we can optimize more? So on that case, you can mention like first of all you can tell that like string is immutable, and and this string buffer or the string builder is like immutable object. So if we anywhere if we do like string, we'll basically try to use string builder or the string buffer instead of string. So depending upon the requirement, you can mention that. What is immutability? So when the object state cannot be changed after creation, that is the concept of immutability. And they can ask you to write down like custom immutable uh, classes. So for example, they can provide like we have an employee class, employee have an ID, name, or the email IDs as in list, and fourth parameter as an address, which is a different classes. So how you can make this employee class an immutable? So you can tell this we can make this first employee as an final, then all the fields as private and a final, and we will not provide any setter method. We have only this getter method, and we have only constructor to provide other to assign the values. And for the linked list or the object, we will do this deep copy so that other cannot change the value. So that is must questions. So if you are like experience like 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years experience, then they will definitely ask you to implement this custom immutable class. And next question is that how this HashMap work internally. So it is a general questions, and it is an like most asked question for to all the candidate and independent on which companies you are giving the interview. So you can explain like HashMap internally uses this hashing concept, and they are internally using this hash code and equals method. So whenever a key is we are adding into the map, and then the hash code will be generated. Then after the hash code, depending upon the bucket size, the index will be generated, amount of the bucket size. Then after that index, this key will be added. And if for example it is pointing to the same index, then that time equals method will be called. Then if the equals method have the same value, then it will be replace the value. So that kind of scenarios you can explain to them. So I will suggest to go deep on how this dot get or dot put method on the map are internally working. So that also they can ask like how this dot put and dot get method in the map are internally working. So hash map is like non-synchronized, and hash table is a synchronized. So we can use uh, hash map for the high performance API. when to use array as and when to use array list. So you can they can ask then if we tell that and depending upon the requirement. So for example, we are creating an user list, so we don't know the size, then we can use this array list. And if we know the size of the if we know that like how many size we require, then we can do right use at that time these arrays. Then what is exceptions? Like we, as we know, this exception like interrupt the normal flow of the program. So everywhere we need to write our custom a custom exception classes, whether it is a customer not found error, or that or like payment failed error. So any kind of exceptions we need to write so that so that as an API user or who is consuming the API, they can get and like good response, and that will be helpful for them and as well as the developer to find out what kind of issue is there. So the business logic will not get interrupt. So they can ask like what is the difference between checked and unchecked exceptions, and for the experience they can ask like can you create an checked exception and unchecked exception, the custom checked and unchecked exceptions. So you can explain like checked exception occur during the compile time, like input output exception, or find not found exception, or SQL exception. So an unchecked exception that occur in the runtime. So the null pointer exception, array index bound exception. So yeah, so how to create this checked and exception and unchecked exception? So for the checked exception, we need to extend the exception class, and for the unchecked, we need to extend this runnable exception class. So what is the difference between throws and throw keyword? The throw is used to throw the exceptions, and throws is when you are declaring this any method which will be throwing the exception. Then that time we can do use the throws keyword. Then this multi-threading concept, they will mostly asked to the experienced candidate. So you can tell like to we need to use like multiple thread to run concurrently, so that the execution will be completed faster. So that kind of things you can explain like for example, when you can take a general example, like when we are typing anything on the doc, Microsoft doc, then that it at a one time it is pointing like how many character are you have typed, and at the same time it is allowing us to type the character on the text. So you can think it like the different threads are working in to give the like maximized output. What is the difference between the thread versus runnable? So runnable it support like multiple inheritance, and you can most of the application they used runnable. So actually you can implement the runnable and also extend the threads to create a different thread. Then synchronization, like so if we create one object or one method or one instance as an synchronized, so only one thread will be able to access that particular method at a time. So for example, this withdrawal method is there. So we are trying to at the same time we are trying to withdraw amount from from the two different sources. You can think it like that. From the mobile also you are trying to access this withdraw, and from the laptop also you are trying to access this withdraw method. So at a one time uh, this withdraw method will be executed. So then it will be lock will be happening, and once it are done, then the other execution call will be happen. So that will prevent like double withdrawal. That kind of example you can provide. Then what is deadlock? So deadlock you can think like if the two resources is acquired by the two different threads, and each other thread is want the other resources, and which is being already acquired. So that time this deadlock conditions will be occur. Then they can explain like JVM memory structures depending upon the experience. Like if they can ask like different stack areas, heap areas, and how like which variables are stored in the heap area, stack area. So you can mention like in the stack we have like functions call, and in the heap area we have like object, whatever the object you have created that will be storing in the heap area, and all the like a local variable that will be storing in the stack. Then garbage collections. So as you know, this JVM already automate this garbage collection by itself. So it will be basically the clean up all the memories, and there is a .gc garbage collector method is there. So they will destroy all the objects or the cleanup when which is not being used. Then what is static keyword? And the static keywords is belongs to the object and share like configuration values. We already know this constructor. This it helps to initialize the object and for any like data and data setup, that kind of things. So, so they can also ask like can constructor be overridden? So answer is no. It is because constructor are not be inherited. Then what is serialization, and then how you are using in your projects. So serialization is to convert this object into the byte stream so that its byte stream will be shared across the network. So if you use this user implements this serializable whatever the fields that is present on the user class, which can be which will be like a convert to this byte stream, and it will be shared over the network. So like they can ask if you use in like if anywhere if have used a transient keyword on any field, so that particular field will not be converted to the byte stream, and it will not be shared through the network. And volatile keywords, like if we use any fields as volatile, and if for example 4 or 5 threads are being using that particular field, so if one thread make the changes and then that changes will be affected to all the other threads. And why is Java secure? Because as we know, this is no pointer is there on the Java, and the bytecode verification is done. So again, yeah, and all the best for your interview, and please watch this Spring Boot interview questions from the playlist. I'll be provided the link, and thank you for watching the video.